saving 10 million jobs in the pandemic with the furlough scheme. And what I've done is... No, I don't.
You know what, Rishi Sunak? You don't actually act in a petulant manner at PMQs? Well, what happened here then, Prime Minister?
Sarah Everard's murder should, of course, been a watershed moment on policing reform, on the criminal justice system, on violence against women and girls. But the sad reality is that victims of rape who have the courage and bravery to come forward have just a 2.4% chance of their perpetrators being caught and charged within the year. How does the Prime Minister expect women to have confidence in the criminal justice system when almost all rapists don't see the inside of a courtroom?
Well, Mr. Speaker, as we acknowledged a couple of years ago, of course we need to do more to improve rape outcomes in the criminal justice system. And the plan, the Rape Action Review Plan, is showing considerable progress, Mr. Speaker. We've already increased the average sentences for rape by a third since Labour were last in office, Mr. Speaker. By the way, using a power that the Labour Party voted against in this House. And thanks to our action plan, we've seen police referrals double, charges double, and last year there was a 50% increase in rape convictions, and now rapists will serve every single day of their sentence behind bars. And the honourable gentleman did raise his time at the Crown Prosecution Service, but he hasn't acknowledged that under his tenure, rape convictions actually dropped.
Well, let's have a little look at this then, our Titchy Short stuff. I remember when our deck chair Dom was Justice Secretary. Well, he claimed on the BBC Radio 4 show that during the time when Keir Starmer was head of the Crown Prosecution Service, or the CPS, the conviction rates for rape and other sexual offences fell. But, however, the figures are a little bit more complicated than that. And according to the Ministry of Justice, or the MOJ, which was, as you can tell, was Rab's department, the conviction rate for rape fell from 38.5% in 2008 to 33.8% in 2013. For other sexual offences, it fell from 68.8% to 59.5%. But the CPS's own figures tell a different story. They show that the conviction rate for rape actually rose from 57.7% to 60.3%, and for other sexual offences it rose from 75.1% to 79%. And the reason for this discrepancy is that the MOJ and the CPS use different methods to calculate their conviction rates. The MOJ compares the numbers of offenders convicted in a year with the numbers of defendants prosecuted in the same year. And on the other hand, the CPS tracks cases through the courts, showing convictions and prosecutions relating to the same case in a year's stats. It's also important to remember that most rape offenders never make it to the courts, do they? And in 2020-2021, only 1.5% of all rapes recorded by the police resulted in a charge. And according to the MOJ statistics, this is down from 8.5% in 2014 and 2015. So while Rab's claims is consistent with the MOJ's figures, the CPS's data shows the opposite trend. And this just basically highlights the importance of understanding how these figures are calculated and what they actually represent. But anyway, then Keir Starmer asked this rather important question.
And at the moment, as everyone in this House knows, we are failing in that endeavour, and we all have a duty to change this. So when will he make time for the vote on banning from Parliament MPs who face allegations of sex offences?
Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, it is absolutely right that we ensure our communities are safe for women and girls. That's why we passed the landmark Domestic Abuse Act. That's why we set up a new 24/7 victim support line. It's why we've quadrupled funding for victim support, and why we are investing in practical things like CCTV and better street lighting in safer communities up and down the country. Now, of course, there is always more we can do, but this government has a strong track record in ensuring that women across this country will feel safe.
So clearly not taking the protection of women that seriously is our Titchy Short-Pants, is he? Straight lights. What a bell tap. Well then, our Stephen Flynn, who I have to admit, I always enjoy at PMQs, came up with this bit of a pearler of a question.
Mr Speaker, much to my surprise this morning, it's been widely reported that the Conservative Party in Scotland are absolutely furious that Westminster is about to tax Scotland's natural resources in order to pay for a tax cut in England. Mr Speaker, is the Prime Minister in danger of turning his colleagues into nationalists?
Mr. Speaker, obviously I wouldn't comment on the budget, but what I would say is, when I was in Scotland last week, it was crystal clear. There has only ever been one party consistently standing up for the North Sea energy industry, and it's the Scottish Conservatives.
Always good for making our Prime Minister and Tories look like clowns. And he continued down the route of the tax cuts, and then our Titchy just basically waffled on about the SNP being the party of high taxes. Oh, yeah. Well, Labour's Dame Angela Regal basically just dropped a 2-ton turd all over that with this bit of a cheeky question.
Which part of his economic legacy is the Prime Minister most proud of? Is it presiding over the highest tax burden since the Second World War? Or is it delivering the slowest real wage growth since the Napoleonic War?
Mr. Speaker, saving 10 million jobs in the pandemic with the furlough scheme.
Not sure if that's the best reply, really. Yes, I know I'm taxing the hell out of your shitty wage and your shitty life, but you should thank me for taxing that shitty wage and that shitty life, because if I didn't do the furlough scheme to save that shitty job a couple of years ago, you wouldn't have a shitty job or a shitty life for me to tax the hell out of now. Oh dear. Then things got a little bit worse for the petulant one when Labour's Andrew Gwynn hit a bit of a raw nerve with this question.
Thank you. Mr Speaker, in some jurisdictions, ministers routinely publish their tax returns. The Prime Minister voluntarily published his UK tax returns last year. Does the Prime Minister agree that ministers of the Crown should publish their tax returns as a matter of course? And has he ever filed any returns in the USA that have not been published?
Mr. Speaker, I don't think that would be proportionate or appropriate. And what I've done is, no, I don't think it would be proportionate for all ministers to publish their tax returns. In keeping with a long-standing tradition, I voluntarily published my tax return, as did the Chancellor. I think that is the right balance, and I've been completely transparent about that as I've done it.
I bet he didn't believe that this was proportionate or appropriate. I wonder why. I also did notice he didn't really answer the question about publishing his returns from America as well. I also talk about looking rather flustered and very defensive. But anyway, let's finish off with Labour MP Samantha Dixon, who gave our feeble Prime Minister an offer he just couldn't refuse.
Chester's 2,000-year-old Roman walls are an important historic monument of world renown. Will the PM join me in Chester to walk the walls and explore how the government can support the upkeep of these important structures, which, unlike the Conservative Party, are stable, solid, and in no danger of imminent collapse?
Well, I'll leave it there because he didn't really say anything interesting. He just prattled on about how many years of Tory funding had made Chester great again, or whatever they say these days. But I just thought the way she just framed the question was very good for me. Made me chuckle anyway. Not too sure if it made our teacher shoe size chuckle. But what do you guys think? Was our Prime Minister at his petulant best today? Well, if not, let me know down below when you thought he was at his petulant best, or worse, or whatever. At PMQs, I shall just bid you farewell and take care, my friends.